Boom. According to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Hiko Simon. It is 10:34 p.m. Japan Standard Time, March 23rd, 2026, which means it's 2025. Back to the future there, moment there, which means that having come here on this trip um, on March 23rd, 1999, that means I have now been here today for 26 years, which is quite a long time. So yeah, big year this year as well. I turn 50 later this year. But I'm kind of glad. It's a weird thing. I'm glad the 25-year anniversary was crossing the threshold of spending more than I got. I was 23 when I got here. So yeah, I'm kind of glad in a way that my half of my life threshold was reached before the 25 for some reason. But yeah, I've definitely been here a while now. I think I talked about it more. It's more of a milestone, obviously, last year with the 25th anniversary. But it's always a chance to reflect, I must admit. I mean, some people sort of, I think I was asked recently, um, you know, am I here for life? Am I, going to retire and die here? And the honest answer to that is I haven't thought about it. I probably should have thought about it. There are things to think about. Inheritance, tax in Japan is complicated and crazy, and it takes 10 years to get away from being subject to it if you leave the country. So there are things you have to plan for with that. Also, if you asked me when I was younger, given that I moved house, so many times, I went to like six. I've counted like 16 schools I've been to growing up. Granted, some just for sort of short, really short periods while traveling and so on. But yeah, a lot of teachers, a lot of different schools and stuff, a lot of moving house. So I'm always kind of open to changing where I live. Although that said, of course, with life circumstances and my son in school and everything like that, that pins me down a little bit more. But when that doesn't become a factor, which will be a couple of years, I guess, with him starting, with him about to start high school, um, I'm not like the fact is just being in Japan for 26 years, as a lawyer, and first as an IT professional, just means that those skills, I'm an average lawyer. I do okay. I do okay. I'm not a bad lawyer. But I do like to think that, in fact, I actually think one thing about working in America was it was kind of cool just that I could sort of, show that I could pull my weight. But whatever superpowers I have outside of my Japan experience, they're like turned into double superpowers by my Japan experience, and the combination of that with the other things that I do. They allow me to say I can do things that, I do things that I'm 100% confident I can say nobody else in the world does better than me, actually, for the stuff I do professionally. That's pretty cool. So, so long as I'm working, for I think going overseas for growth and for experience and for other, I'm open to going overseas, but, doing this show here and just being attached to Japan has worked out well for me. Um, and just the 26 years being here in and of itself, and continuing to grow in areas that are not Japan related. My knowledge of law, technology, other stuff has all kind of come together that it's actually carved out something that, yeah, I'm kind of, I enjoy being unique in the way that I am. And even if I go overseas, I'm going to carry that. So, yeah, I definitely am going to travel more. No question about that. I've been less, I must admit, since I got back from America, I'm following Japanese news less. I'm not watching NHK every night, which I should probably, and maybe I will get back to that. But yeah. Um, Hang on a sec, I'm getting pinged at the moment. My audio is low. Okay, let's see what's happening with that. Audio settings. I'm only getting one light on there. Let me turn up the gain. Well, look, this should be a lot better now. In fact, this should be normal. The gain was turned all the way down. Wow. Okay, everybody, audio bad. I see people. Yes, I got a couple of pings. It did take me a few minutes to realize. I'll just point out that technical issues like this are a feature of the show. Your eardrums may just have popped as I corrected that. So I apologize for all the people that had their stereos onto full volume. Wow, so you didn't hear anything I just said for the last 4.5 minutes? This is too high. No, it's too high. Okay, let's do this. Is this better? This should not be peaking. Let me check the audio settings. Okay, this is good. This is not peaking. This is like right in the middle. In fact, it's actually, yeah. Okay. Everybody kind of heard. Okay. I'm going to leave it at this. Sorry, little thing on the back. I must have bumped it. So I guess I start all over again. Okay. Edit screen. Well, whatever. Black Tango heard every word. I'm gonna paraphrase what I just said. Today is my 26th anniversary in Japan. Obviously Japan's a big part of my life. Rather than reflecting back on, the whole 26 years in Japan, just pointing out, people have been asking me lately, am I going to be here till I die? Am I just going to sit, in front of the screen, in a Japanese retirement home? I might. I'm not against it, but I'm in Japan partly because I'm used to traveling around. What I love about Tokyo, the reason this is Tokyo tonight, the reason I love Tokyo, is it's a unique city. It's the biggest city in the world. Where whenever I grew up, where every time I lived somewhere for 1 or 2 years, I kind of get bored, and I could rely on my dad getting posted somewhere else with the army, and getting to a new town. Whereas in Tokyo, it's like you're getting posted every 6 months to a different town, but you're still in the same town because Tokyo is such a dynamic place. So Tokyo meets my needs for stimulation and things to do. But at the same time, future-wise, who knows? I do want to travel more, although that's going to sort of come up. But at the same time, I'm really thankful for the fact that I not only get to do work that I love and that I'm good at, but adding the Japan superpower to that, it means I've actually got skills that are globally unique. And those have served me really well professionally and in general life. So that's been really, really good anyway. So, retirement home edition. Why not? I mean, yes, again, I can't even imagine that. And I'm pretty sure by the time I get to retirement age, which, I've still got a bit of time for that. And plus they keep pushing the finish line further out on that. It's probably going to be like 150. It might not even exist by the time I get to it. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, hell, maybe there'll be a better looking AI version of me just doing this. Who knows? But, anyway, 26th Japanniversary. It's always easy for me to remember, by the way, because my mum's birthday is the day before. So whenever I see my mum's birthday coming up, it's like, oh, it's my Japanniversary tomorrow. Because yes, I flew to Japan. I was actually staying with my mum, did her birthday, then I flew here. And I flew here on this date because April 1st, I was starting the start of the Japanese business fiscal school year. Everything in Japan starts when the Sakura blossoms come out on April 1st. So April's Fool's Day, not a thing in Japan because it's such an important day. And so actually, it's kind of funny that, yes, I literally got here a week before I was due to start work. I went back to Australia to wait for my work visa for a couple of months. It took me 3 months for the visa to arrive. And flew out here in March, and this is it. So 26 continuous years. Although, of course, I went to America for 6 months and had a few other stints, breaking it up. But still, it's been interesting. So, yes, 2.5 voyages yesterday, by the way. I know some people are disappointed we didn't do it. Victor wasn't feeling the best. He said he wasn't feeling well. So we're going to move it to next week. So do look out for that, probably on the Saturday. I will shout out about that. But yeah, other stuff that's coming up on, I'll actually be on Monday, March the 31st. So I'll be there and back. I'll be going to Singapore for a week at the end of the month, but I'll still be here the night before. So it should be fine for doing Tokyo tonight. Shouldn't interfere with that schedule. Cherry blossoms. I went out for it today, 25 degrees Celsius. Beautiful day. And it was actually like 24, 23 yesterday. I went out running along some of the rivers in Tokyo and I saw some cherry blossom blooms. They're officially due to start cherry blossom season tomorrow. So it should be like peak about a week from now. But Japan, on top of being like dirt cheap, especially if you're coming from America, best time of year, provided you don't have allergies. If you have allergies, it is the worst time of year to come here. I'm lucky, I get allergies, but not at this time of year. So I'm pretty well set up by that. But it is, cherry blossoms are in the air. This is also, when the weather is nice and the cherry blossoms are out, I want to go running outside. And where I used to stop running during winter because it's cold and miserable, for the marathon, I was training on treadmills, indoors. But now I'm running outside again, partly just for the vitamin D, just for the mental health, getting the sunshine and everything. It's really nice outside at the moment. We're still going to have some more cold days. It was snowing. We had heavy snow this week in March. It's been crazy. We've had 2 days of snow in March. It never rains in Tokyo. It never snows in Tokyo in March. But we've also had days above 20 degrees. So the weather is all over the place. People are getting sick everywhere. People are getting allergies, influenza, COVID, everything. But that said, it is still, provided you can handle all the cypress and the cedar and everything, pouring pollen over the cities in Japan from the mountains at the moment, provided he can handle that, it's a fantastic time to come. All of that said, that was a very long introduction. We're 10 minutes into it, the first 4 minutes of which were done via mime. So let's see who's here. We got Sadiq. Sadiq, our man from Florida, originally from Turkey. Great to have you in here. First, number one with 10 songs lined up for the after party, some of which are in Italian, apparently. So much to look forward to there. Thank you very much. Andrea, my boy, hi. I know it's late for you, so I do appreciate you coming in at, I think, midnight for you, right? Hope you're doing well. Great to see you. Dan H saying hello to Sadiq and Andrea. Good to see both of you. We've got Void Theft in fourth. People keeping count. How long do we keep keeping count? We've got Kerberos Tenshi fifth. But there we go. Got the impression 2.5 years. No, it was going to be yesterday. And it wasn't yesterday because Victor wasn't feeling well. DJ Sunny Side Up. Met DJ Sunny Side Up. As I said, it seemed like most people weren't around this week. Thursday was a public holiday. I met him and his mum, who is also in the chat. In fact, hello. Caroline, hello, Sunny's mum. Nice to have you both in there. Thank you for the happy 26th, by the way. Lara also came out on Thursday, so it was 4 people. It was nice. We had some pizza, we had some karaoke. We did karaoke for 2 hours. And yeah, actually, I must say, all were, it was a talented group of 4 people at karaoke. Like Sunny's mum is like a professional singer level. Lara was singing like, yes, Disney songs like a pro. Sunny, is a pro, and I was basically, due to my inability to sing, was awkwardly doing rap songs. So it was much fun was had. Good food, good times, good conversation. So great to see you all. And yeah, nice to do a little mini meetup like that. Always great to meet people in person. If you're ever visiting Japan, you're in Tokyo, whatever, seriously, hit me up. Nothing better than to actually get to meet people in person. Sometimes you meet people and it turns out they're like dramatically shorter or taller, or they act differently to what you expect because you sort of know them as an avatar or something. And sometimes people are exactly as you'd expect. And I don't know, Sunny was kind of on the exactly as I expected range. And I mean that in a very, very good way. So, great to see you, DJ Sunny Side Up. And yeah, great to catch up. And hope you and your mum are having a great time traveling around Japan. Steve from Berkeley, first time in a while. Great to see you, Steve. Nice to have you in here indeed. Black Tengu, I missed out Black Tengu, but yes, sorry, that's right. 2.5 Voyages, as I said, skipped over, but apologies. We'll come back with that. Steve's been well. Lara's in the house. We've got Shibus, never fear, not afraid anymore. Now that you've made it, I hope you've got a cup of coffee in hand, that fine Panamanian stuff that you drink. We've got Lysander 45. Nice to have you in here. You are having a cold day in the southwest of England, that's for sure. Southwest of England, are you in Cornwall? I love Cornwall. Actually, I've got my brother-in-law is from near Bude. I think literally the address is like the name of the person and near Bude, and the post office just knows where to go. There's such small towns out there. Are you in Devon or Cornwall? But anyway, I mean, southwest of England, even if the weather's crappy, it still is a beautiful part of the UK. I never really imagined going to the UK thinking that I'd go there for surfing and swimming, but yeah, you can do, and the cream teas were so good. That and the Cornish pasties are great. After like midday, the food kind of takes a bit of a dive, but the breakfast and the cream teas are so amazing there, with the clotted cream and the jam, all of that stuff. Anyway, 22 degrees and sunny here in Panama. Wow, just like in Tokyo today. So you're living the Tokyo life, only everyone's speaking Spanish. So that is a thing. Mr. Corny Chair, woohoo, glad that you could make it. Mr. Eric Bailey's made it, so we are now authorized to start the show. Ida is here, a man from Denmark. We've got Quinn Rankid, almost missed you there. Hello, Quinn Rankid, great to have you in here. Ida, boom, great to have you in here as well. Black Tengu in Greece went from 30 degrees Celsius to -3 overnight, and beaches everywhere headed for the ski slopes. Wow, okay, I was just saying how extreme it was that we've had beautiful, sunny, warm, and heavy snow in Tokyo, but once again, Greece shows that they probably invented extreme swings in weather, just like everything else in the world. So yes, that is excessive. We've got Aaron, our moderator. Great to have you in here, Aaron. By the way, Aaron, Indiana, Sunny's mum, Indiana, it turns out. So connected those dots. Great to have you in here as always. Remember, everybody, please hit the like button, because remember, I am not turning on advertising on these videos. So yes, I literally turn advertisers off. I do it like on purpose and unintentionally at the same time. So there we go. Volume is low, audio bad. You know I'm bad. That was one of no. Did we sing? We didn't sing bad. We should have sang. We sang some Michael Jackson. Never mind. Uh, Sadiq just making sure I knew that he was the first. I did. I did get it. Eric, we are all geezers, but also the audio was bad. You were correct. Um, okay, we're all fixed on this. We're all caught up. Encore. We've got all of this. We got Sainted Surin from New York City. Good morning to you. Everybody else. 12 likes. 23 people here. What are you doing? What are you doing? Boom. Let's get into the topics. The topics I've just been going through. A sign beside the road. Two childlike characters and a simple sign. Two children running together, and the sign says, "Mino no chikara de boruku." In many parts of Japan that have traditional problems with organized crime syndicates, they've got all sorts of regulations to try to say, let's all band together to stop people with tattoos coming into our onsens and opening bank accounts and all this sort of stuff. And in that vein, there are all these campaigns to, let's all try to make sure, let's not pay protection money, let's not allow hand grenades and machine gun attacks intimidate us. And so they have these campaigns, hey, let's all band together and drive out the antisocial violence groups. Literally in Japan, organized crime syndicates are referred to as violence groups. And I'm sure that at the bottom of the sign, there's probably the words for groups. Or group down. It's boruku or boruku haijo. It could just be eliminating violence from society. However, the grass has grown long. Possibly the sign is probably in Kyushu, I'm imagining, which is kind of famous for not having under control organized crime syndicates. And as a result, the sign, as it currently appears, says, "With all of your strength together, violence." I don't know. That should be a slogan for the self-defense forces. Seriously, I think they would be overwhelmed with people wanting to join. Crypto Airy, great to see you, Crypto Airy. Thank you for joining. Yeah, this is a great sign. Anyway, let's band together. Violence together. It's a great slogan. There is no retirement. Well, yeah, Crypto Airy, I think has sorted out her retirement. I should get onto that. But anyway, I'm sorry, that got my attention. I stayed on that picture way too long. It's funny how the stories in the beginning I talk for longer, and then the United Nations decided to abolish itself. At the end I cover in 15 seconds. So let's move on. In news I totally do not give a crap about, and please raise your hand. By the way, believe in yourself. Great to see you here. If people raise your hand, Mike Zilla, great to see as well. I missed Mike Zilla. There we go, Mike Zilla. Thank you for saying hello, and do say hello if you're lurking there. In news I don't care about, Ubisoft has released a new version of Assassin's Creed called Assassin's Creed Shadows, where apparently one of the stars is the quasi-mythical figure of the samurai Yasuke, and all sorts of apparently 2 million people playing it simultaneously online at the moment. So the game is, as expected, a complete hit. Again, I don't really care about this, but what is interesting is that apparently the how should I put it? the weeaboo ultra nationalist message boards on 8chan and 4chan have been highlighting the huge problem that one of the heroes apparently in the game is a kind of famous. Most people in Japan know about him. A person who was Yasuke, a real historic figure, a real dude who lived. And apparently the story is that when the Portuguese Jesuits came to Japan, trying to establish ties with the shogunate, that if you watch the movie, you watch the movie Shogun, it's literally in Shogun, all the Portuguese were already there and saying, don't trust those English and those Dutch and those other foreigners out there. Just trust the Catholic Church and the Portuguese, because everyone knows that when it comes to colonialism, we're the most reliable and trustworthy people. which the Japanese believed for a period of time. One of the reasons they loved the Portuguese was when the Jesuits came around, apparently the Jesuits had by all accounts, probably a slave, someone either from Mozambique or Angola. They don't know which one. I would guess, since it's so hard to go around the bottom of Africa, probably Mozambique. They had a tall, impressive African person who was coming around helping with the Jesuits. And for Japanese people, when they saw him, he was like Shaquille O'Neal. He was like Michael Jordan had just landed in Japan. And it's kind of like, it's like Michael Jordan's agent is walking him through, and everyone's like, get out of the way, agent. I want to talk to Michael Jordan. And basically, and there was a thing, because he was athletic, he was unusually tall. And his blackness, frankly, his dark skin was something that in Japan, whenever they do, like if you're to Kyoto and you see all the statues of all of the Buddhist, Hindu gods and everything that they have there, all the Buddhist deities, they're all, although some of them are gold plated and stuff, many are black. And there is this belief that gods are black in Buddhism in Japan. And they literally believe that he's kind of like a demigod type figure. He looks exactly like these idealized, like, god, demigod statues, and they thought he was like a real demigod. And so this guy became like the most popular guy in Japan, like instantly. And like the shoguns, like, hey, I don't know about those Portuguese guys, but introduce me to Shaquille O'Neal. And so they actually introduced him, and the Portuguese realized, well, one, they saw him obviously as a chattel, as a piece of property, which is a problem. And they said, hey, if you want to be friends, you want Michael Jordan, we'll sign him over for some, he's yours, we'll trade him. And they actually gave him a title and some land. And then the history books never saw him again. But it was noted that, it's basically, he wanted to be, the shogun's like, I want my man like near me. Whenever I'm walking through the town, I want all the ladies to see I'm walking with the cool guy. So Yasuke was this famously extremely cool black person who was far more popular than all the white people that were trying to get into Japan. And so much so that when the Japanese were like not letting anyone in, it's like literally like a bouncer. They were like, oh, that cool guy there, let him in. And they gave him a land and a title and everything. So historically super cool figure. So this video game, who knows about this figure Yasuke, the first recognized cool black guy in Japan, they turn him into a full-on samurai who leads like battles and stuff like this in the game, and you get to play as Yasuke apparently. And apparently this really upset some sort of white nationalist Japanese weeaboos in America that and they were like, he wasn't that cool, and there's no proof that he was ever actually like a real samurai. He was more like a pet of the shogun or something like that. And, there's no proof that he ever actually fought in any battles or actually did anything cool. So this game is historically inaccurate, to which I'd point out, you expected the game to be a documentary. I mean, you talk about historical fan fiction. So basically you're against like video game based historical. Here's some news. Grand Theft Auto, not real. Robin Hood, based on people who are, allegedly quasi-real and real figures like, Richard the Lionheart or Lionheart off at the Crusades and stuff like that. But no real specific like accounts, of, all the stuff that's in that, but it's a freaking video game. And again, the people who were, and nobody in Japan gave a crap that Yasuke was being misrepresented. But when all these these people overseas who claim to be gatekeepers of Japanese culture lost their minds, saying, no, you can't have a cool black person in Japanese history. He wasn't a real samurai. And nobody in Japan, literally no one gives a shit, right? He's just a cool dude. It's literally say, high five, Michael Jordan. He's my friend. That's literally all that it was. And, the fact that he gets to play a cool samurai guy, freaking awesome. He's a historical person. That's literally what he is. Apparently, one of the conspiracy theorists, like weird politicians, did decide to ask the prime minister in parliament, are you aware that Japanese history is being misrepresented in video games? And to which the prime minister, of course, said, well, I'm not cool enough to play video games, so I don't know, but sure, that'd be a bad thing. And without really knowing anything. And then all the weird, the ultra self-declared Japanese ultra nationalists, many of whom have never been to Japan and probably couldn't eat sushi, or like, you see, we're right. There shouldn't be any black people in Japan. But oh God, these people who gatekeep Japanese culture from outside of Japan without actually knowing what Japanese culture is and so on. And yeah, I've talked about this before. Yasuke, just a cool guy, and all these people being outraged. It didn't false drama. I mean, I suppose it probably helped promote the game actually. The game is super popular by all accounts. It's a great game, good graphics, people are enjoying it. I don't give a crap. I'm not going to play it. And the fact that, some weeaboos are upset doesn't qualify as news to me. But some accounts that I follow, including Jeffrey J. Hall, political scientist, pointed out this got raised in Parliament and he was covering the controversy. But this is, a big nothing burger. But it's kind of fun to watch people that honestly annoy me just lose their minds over unimportant stuff. So that was kind of fun. Either I hadn't noticed any Americans being fixated on race. I had completely Americans fixated on race. Yeah, America's weird, and I experienced it was like the favorite in a way the favorable treatment, the way that I saw myself in some situations in America, at the car rental place it stood out, at the DMV. People treat me nicer. I'm not even American, but I'm blonde haired and white and probably I don't know. From that, I'm there and I see Asians, Pacific Islanders, and sometimes, with immigrant staff, they're treating me like I'm the freaking, executive class. I am, sub budget. I'm literally here on Japanese currency. I'm literally living off ramen, in corporate dormitory accommodation, and they're treating me like I'm the CEO or something like that. I've experienced like favorable discrimination as a white person, I mean, geez, all the time, but in America, it was so pronounced. And yeah, America's got complicated. I mean, everywhere has complicated history with race, but oh my God, America, certainly does have that. So yes, indeed. They were lovely. They were lovely. Seriously, I was in and out in Seattle. It was smooth. It was easy. They were very nice to me. The rental car place was more differentiated, but yeah. Lysander 45. Maybe some people care about this more than me correcting me, which I'm very open to. It was raised in Parliament because technically the game danced over some laws relating to national relics, the imperial family, going digging for relics in Kofun is something in the game. Oh, yeah, there's another thing about apparently some of the fight scenes involve smashing up shrines. And some people say, how dare you have a video game showing smashing up in a sacred religious place? Could you imagine a video game where you smash up a church? To which the response was a list of 50 video games where you get to smash up churches. And seriously, yeah. I mean, Street Fighter. Yeah, nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. But again, it's good press. It's good press for the game. So yeah, Eric Bailey's an actual historian. So there we go. Yasuke predated the locking of the country. Yeah, well, it was when, but even the predating of the closed period, it was when there was very gated interaction, right? There are only specific people from specific. Oh, that's what the whole premise of Shogun is. It was those Portuguese were the only ones allowed in. And you know what they did when they revoked the legal status of the Portuguese in Japan? They all became unalived. So that was dramatic. Although Yasuke, I think, still got to have a party. Yeah, they wouldn't have touched Yasuke. He was too cool. But the Portuguese, yeah, they got it pretty bad when they when they did what America's just done, which I'm not going to get into. But there we go. By the way, if you're suffering from allergies at the moment, my commiserations. I am very glad to only have to suffer from the pig grass butakusa that we get in September. To get some itchy eyes, need some eye drops. But if you suffer from cedar, sugi pollen, or hinoki, cypress pollen right now, you are not having a good time, as Wataru Tenkawa points out. Yeah, bad time. Who watched Severance? I watched the finale of Severance on Friday. I wasn't really a great fan of the show when it started, the first season. I was like, what the hell is this? It's a little bit, and really hard to get into in the beginning. Like, even if when I get the premise, I didn't find it that compelling. It's like, oh, people are having a miserable time at work and we've just found a way to make work even weirder. And but season 2 got really good, and the finale, I must say, I quite enjoyed. It is apparently one of the most, it is like the most watched show in the United States at the moment. It's on Apple Plus. Apple Plus doesn't have a lot of good shows, but they do have not very much, but quality. Like Foundation is amazing. And then I unsubscribed when it finished. And I think I resubscribed recently, and I've enjoyed Severance. It's worth a watch if you watch it. I'd love to talk about the themes of the final show. I did get into it. I did get into the final, and I definitely got into the finale. And I saw that they've renewed for season 3, so hurrah for that. But yes, I enjoyed that. Kevra Senshi, people are just being pissed at Ubisoft for being incredible tone deaf. Yeah, yeah, and you know what? I'm not invested in the fight about Ubisoft. They're sort of tone deaf, but honestly, watching tone deaf people shouting at people who are tone deaf, who are shouting, who are shouting back or whatever, that's kind of how I see it. So yeah, yeah. 52% of Japanese people don't want kids. I've seen like multiple like podcasts, like blogs talking about this recently. And while all the surveys kind of point to the same thing, people saying that I can't afford it, I can barely take care of myself, I don't get enough pay, I've got to work too many hours, I don't have the, everyone responds, why don't you? When they ask people, why don't you have kids? Everyone says, oh, I couldn't. It's not like the 60s when they were handing out houses for practically free, you go you buy a loaf of bread in a house and, all that sort of stuff. And, times are harder now, but, it's actually the wealthier the countries, the lower the birth rates. And although there are disparities and so on, people are objectively better off than they've ever been by most metrics. So although people always give reasons that say economic, and this survey says that as well, blame the government, not enough, people working too long hours and not making enough money and all that sort of thing. And it's true, but people having like 12 kids, when they were not. How did people used to do it? Actually, it's kind of hard to figure out. And I think I've talked about this recently. I've seen multiple podcasts lately talking about that it's becoming increasingly now taken seriously, the statistical correlation of birth rates with smartphone use. And it sounds crazy, but if you hear them out, it makes a lot of sense. That people basically nowadays just have access to so much personal entertainment. Literally, I don't have time to make children. They're portraying Yasuke as a samurai smashing up, digging holes in a coffin and smashing up a temple in Japan. No time to make kids here in Alabama is pretty much the global thing. And I know this because of their smartphones. People just are in worlds of just entertaining themselves. I mean, I guess this is just it. Maybe we used to have kids as a substitute for a video games console. But now that we can just buy a video games console and a smartphone, we have all the entertainment and time taken up that we needed. Seems to be an increasing thesis. And it's kind of hard. I mean, here I am right now. While all of you are watching me, in fact, I suppose the appropriate PSA would be at this point, if you're watching me on a smartphone, please try to make babies at the same time. I don't know if this actually helps. It might not, but at least I can say that I've done my part to encourage people listening to podcasts that you should be out there increasing the birth rates. Ra's al Ghul, great to see you. You can't replace console gaming for that immersive experience. Yeah, well, this is it. We're literally competing, right? With, do we spend time literally, running dopamine hits in our head on games, or going through, being covered in crap and not sleeping and working really hard and having no money, having no money either way, but there you go. Well, so Erin has had babies, so she's contributed, I suppose, but too expensive. They are expensive, but like I say, it is funny how it's not just rich countries now. It's like every country that has smartphones is at a collapse in birth rates. Even places like where people are forced to marry, like in the Middle East, in less developed economies, it's happened everywhere. So it is an interesting phenomenon. But in Japan, they are definitely saying having babies definitely does cost a lot of money. It is true. But do you think a 20-year-old, a 28-year-old is thinking that? Possibly people get married and they get to their 30s and they think, well, let's save up for a few more years and maybe then only have one kid. Possibly that's coming into it. But I think what's happening is, like, again, I mean, my mum was like 19. My dad was 21, I think, when they got married. And they both, I know, I lived in the towns where they lived. There was literally nothing better to do than get married and have me a couple of years later. And granted, the army took care of everything. But I do think that people are finding that there's more ways to distract yourself than to think, geez, I'm bored. I'm just going to, let's just have some kids and, let's get married and pop out some kids. Just isn't something that feels that happens anymore. But yeah. So, and we've got people saying, we're just glad. What if AI can raise kids? Yeah. I mean, That's fine. Are we talking about the Elon Musk AI? Because that worries me slightly. That means a nuclear holocaust 25 years after the fact. But hopefully, well, yes, as a way to. I'm worried what the AI would think about taking care or solving the elderly problem. We've got all of that. But yeah, don't I think about the cost of having children? I do. I do. And honestly, like I say, I wonder how I had friends growing up, like in army towns, and it was always, bless them, it was always the Catholic families. They were on the same wages as my dad, and they always had like 10 kids. And I don't know how they did it, but they did. They did, and I've got not just them, actually. I've got friends at high school, Presbyterian friends. They had big families. So people kind of, in the end of the day, yeah, you'd find a way to do it, I suppose. But sure, cost is a factor. But I think what's happening before that is that marriages, people, not as many people are getting married. They're getting married later. They're divorcing more often. So all the precursors that you need before you even get to marriage. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, economic reasons are a big one. But but the childless don't want to spend money on kids. I mean, people are spending money on themselves, and they have things to spend money on. So I've always subscribed. I've always said before this whole thing became a bit. I've been saying since I've been doing the show. The reason people don't get married in Tokyo, the reason people don't have kids generally, is that they don't get married, and the reason they don't get married is because Tokyo is so fun. There's so much stuff to do. There's so many restaurants. There's so many hobbies you can do. There's so many. You can spend all your income on 3 or 4 hobbies. And in Tokyo, Tokyo offered all of this before smartphones. Smartphones have just kind of made the rest of the world a bit more like Tokyo. And I always had this theory that, why would you want to compromise your freedom to explore all the things you want to explore and spend your money the way that you want to spend it, and have all these obligations and have all the money tied up, as is traditionally the case, when you can just be single and cheat the system and get to do, and have a bit more independence and freedom for the rest of your life. And that's what people decide in Tokyo, and I think that is happening internationally. But then when you consider that money gone that you're spending on your hobbies and whatnot, then you certainly can't imagine not spending money on anything for yourself and spending it all on kids. It's definitely a thing. Just my amateur opinion on this, but yeah. So the Ponzi scheme of Social Security, or whatever it's called over here. I probably missed some context for that, but yes, we all need smartphones, and they cost money too. Absolutely, absolutely. And look, Japan does pay you. When you have babies here, you do get paid. I mean, not only is it free to have babies here, it doesn't cost hospital fees like in America, but you actually get cash after that as well. You get like, how much did we get? About $1,500. So the government is handing out cash for babies here, but it still isn't producing the results. So there you go. Smartphone menus. You know what? I never saw these in Japan until like 2 or 3 years ago. The pandemic was well underway. I went to Singapore after the pandemic, and everywhere was using smartphone menus. And after I got back, it was after the pandemic, I started to see it come up in restaurants here, and now you see it more and more. And I get it, but I don't like it. I get that it's actually, in a way, I mean, with smartphone menus, you can adjust prices, you can adjust the menu for, you can update the menu more easily. You don't have to go reprint everything or put twink on and write on the sort of whiteout. You don't have to, update the menus manually. So I see it from the restaurant's perspective. Also, the waiters, and you don't need as many wait staff for it. And particularly in countries where you don't tip anyway, although in America, I'm sure they include tipping. In fact, in America, they put tipping on all the apps as well, which is a nightmare. But, given that we don't have tips, we don't need that much staff. You just need staff to bring out the food. I can see all the efficiency gains for the restaurants of doing this, but I really dislike. In Japan, you're almost always going to a restaurant with somebody, and you're going there to hang out with someone. And it's been a few years now. Again, call me an old man wanting the kids to get off my lawn. But, when you go to restaurants and you see couples out on dates and they're not talking, they are on their mobile phones. Oh, which reminds me, I've got to charge my mobile phone because I'll be using it for the after party. Charge that. On their phones, not even talking, right? They're just sitting there like, I don't know what they're doing. But, you know, so to me, it's sort of like if you're there with company, at least, you know, it's kind of at the very least, it's bad manners. And yet now you've got a system which actually requires and demands that people take out their smartphones, and probably while they're looking at the Instagram, they're, oh, I'm just looking at the menu or whatever. I feel like it's reinforcing antisocial behavior. So I don't like that aspect of it. And also, you know, like sometimes you want a human, right? Like for example, when the menu's there, that's fine. But and I don't have particular allergies or anything like that, so I suppose that's fine. But you know, sometimes you want to ask, hey, you know, I can't have this. You know, what should I get or whatever. You know, you got that thing about the whole human interaction aspect of going and eating out that is kind of gone. You know, when you might have questions or whatever. So I don't know. I get it. It actually makes sense. I like, you know, and being able to pay on the smartphone as well is also pretty smart. Actually, it's a good way for the restaurants to actually be more flexible and save money. But yeah, I actually take my son to a restaurant every Sunday before the show. Same restaurant actually. They always expect us there, and they have posted no smartphone signs, even though they allow you to pay with smartphones. But they've got posted no using smartphones while you're talking. Sorry, while you're eating, which is, you know, a bit old school, but the food is excellent, and it's got a great atmosphere. So yeah, this may be a sign that I'm getting old, but I'm not a fan of smartphone menus, even though I understand why they exist. So yeah, um, I just posted this story because it is weird. Apparently, a professor who was forced to resign over sexual harassment of a student has been reinstated because they found out that the professor was forced by the student into hugging him. I won't go into all the gory details, although I know some of you probably want to hear them. But fundamentally, apparently the student had initiated a slave relationship with the teacher and had commanded him to go on dates with her and to hug him and whatnot, and then held the threat of blackmail or of getting him dismissed for it over him. And apparently he was into it. So the lesson that I take from this is that if you reach a certain level of hentai, by the way, does not mean adult anime. It just means being a pervert. So when they say hentai anime, it's not a joke. It's just literally, you know, perverted anime. That's what it means. So the point is, when you're a certain level of hentai, when you're a certain level of being a pervert, it actually becomes a defense against sexual harassment. So there you go. Good to know. Good to know. I don't know. It was still like, dude, you just shouldn't be in that situation in the first place. I mean, literally, they reinstated him because he was a sex slave of a student, and they recognized that he, you know, couldn't bear full responsibility. You know, yeah. So I suppose the gimp from Pulp Fiction gets to be a professor. I don't understand, but there we go. So all of that. Yeah, moving on. Party time. Tomorrow, the cherry blossoms start. They actually kind of started today. I saw a few. They actually designate when cherry blossom season starts in Tokyo. Every location in Japan, they've got these kind of quasi. Japan's really good at coming up with scales for measuring things. It's like the Fujita scale for measuring tornadoes. You've got the earthquake, the Shindo scale that everyone should use but doesn't, on how to judge the intensity of an earthquake. And the scale for measuring when cherry blossoms are blooming exists. There's specifically when you go to the I believe it is the Sakura, the cherry blossom area out front of Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo. When there are specific trees that have a specific number of blooms, then they declare that cherry blossom season is open. And I saw some cherry blossoms already blooming on some trees, random trees today when I was running, but they weren't fully up. But the start of cherry blossom season is up to that very specific place with very specific trees, and a very specific numerical amount that the meteorological agency goes and actually verifies, because this like dictates a whole bunch of tourism, people who travel all over Japan to see cherry blossoms and so on. And tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow's the big day. We've had 2 really sunny, warm days. So we've got a couple of days of spectacular warm weather. I do see that next weekend it is going to be freezing cold, apparently, which is consistent with most hanamis that happen. Oh, that reminds me, I should actually check. There is going to be a YouTube hanami such as it is, it doesn't really exist like it used to anymore. But let me check. I got a message from Zach, who is the organizer of that, and he was saying something. What were you saying? Weather forecast is sus, like you'd expect every year. So basically, yes, it's always when the sunshine and warmth brings out the blossoms, and then everybody plans, okay, the sunshine and warmth brought out the blossoms, so let's go have a picnic tomorrow. And then when you go have the picnic, it's freezing cold and raining again. If things are good for the 29th, he'll do it, but he will make an announcement if he's going to change the date of the Hanami this Thursday or Friday. Go into Facebook, find Phoenix 787 Zach Kun, and you can get information about that. I'm probably going to go, although honestly, if it's really cold and raining, I went there last year, and there were a few people that I know, but not. It's not like it used to be. I don't know that many people, and there aren't that many. It's not really a full-on YouTuber event anymore. So I may show my face, but at the same time, yeah, if it's cold and in the rain, I'm not sure. Most of my experiences of Hanami have been kind of cold and wet and miserable. But I'll tell you what, we've got a couple of spectacular days of cherry blossoms coming up, so it is a great time to be here in Japan. So yeah, you feel like it was almost always dips to super cold and windy the first week of April in Japan. Yeah, it kind of goes for a few things, but I don't know. I always actually think of April 1, the first day of work and school, as always being generally kind of sunny, and you have that image of going to school and it's sunny and cherry blossoms are falling, which is consistent in Tokyo because normally that's like the end of the cherry blossom season. It only lasts for about a week and it's only about to start. So everything's kind of timed, but sometimes you'll get like a dip where the weather goes all crap right in the middle and it blows all the cherry blossoms off the trees. So we'll have to see. But yeah. Quentin Rankin wondering if that hug from the professor might lead to babies. Well, apparently he's not responsible because he was such a gimp about it. So there you go. Kubra's Techi explaining. So there we go. We're getting educated on all the things in the chat there. Speaking of Fukuoka, I love Fukuoka. Fukuoka is my hometown. Hakata, Kyushu, my hometown. I do make fun of it because they do have gangster attacks involving hand grenades on civilians. They produce taro aso. They've got a it's the west of Japan. It's where men are men. They swagger around and walk and talk like samurais. Fukuoka dialect actually isn't that harsh, but when you go to Saga, which is the neighboring prefecture, the thing about Fukuoka is everybody from like Yamaguchi through all of Kyushu gathers. Fukuoka is like the Tokyo of Kyushu. Everybody goes there, so they have the accent, but it's kind of like they soften it. They change the words, but honestly, it's a Western Japan. It's like an Osaka type dialect. It's not that strong. But you go to Saga, you go to the one next door, and the dialect characteristics are the same as Fukuoka. A lot of the words, a lot of the expressions, but they don't like moderate it so that everybody understands like they do in Fukuoka. And all I remember about Saga was whatever I was told by the homestay, by the parents of the girl whose house I was staying at. That's a long story. All I knew was I would just apologize immediately because they seemed to be furious with rage when they were like asking me, would you like to take a seat, sir? Oh my God, I'm so sorry, because it just sounds angry. So apparently a deranged Fukuoka city worker who apparently would just constantly shout at people, including apparently he took one female employee and while scolding and shouting at her, said intersped the abuse with I love you throughout all of the abuse that he was giving her. Apparently also while dressing down employees multiple times, for which he was given counseling and told to improve. He did not improve, and actually some of the people that he verbally abused apparently required psychiatric counseling after. He explained, I have a loud voice and I speak in Hakata dialect, so it may have sounded harsh. Hakata dialect is lovely. It's lovely. I don't know. He's like saying I couldn't help but abuse all my subordinates because it's just this crazy accent that I have. I don't know. Fukuoka is not. I mean, yes, there are some scary, terrible gangster people in Fukuoka, and it is true that whenever I see a story about someone acting like they think they're in the Ubisoft video game playing Yasuke, that they all happen to be from Kyushu. It's true, and often from Fukuoka. But I don't think of it as an inherently abusive dialect. It is my Japanese hometown, and it's literally This is literally what he's saying. I can't help but be abusive. This is why I'm literally a Fukuoka city worker. I'm just showing pride in my culture. So that's the thing. The Chinese apparently thanked the Japanese Prime Minister, saying, "We're so glad that when we told you all about our concerns about history and how nobody should be involved in Taiwan, that the Japanese Prime Minister expressed understanding." Partly China definitely trolling, but also there is this famous thing with, of course, all these famous business meetings where American business people come over to Japan, and they'd say, we demand that you give us free ice cream and chocolate and, discount everything and give us all of our demands and give them to us yesterday and, sing God Bless America and do all of that. And the Japanese would go, "I understand." And they go, "Yeehaw, they understood. We did it, boys. Go home now. Mission accomplished." I understand in Japanese in that circumstance, in most circumstances, doesn't mean I accept. And it doesn't mean, it literally just means, yep. It literally means, in fact, it can be delivered almost sarcastically. You can disagree with every single thing that they've said. It just means, I heard every stupid thing that you just said. And I don't want to cause a diplomatic incident, so I'm just going to sit here and just say, yep. And that's clearly what the Prime Minister said to China, and China took it back and said they recognize that Taiwan belongs to us and that they're wrong about history. So sure, exactly, like a long drawn out nodding, sure. So apparently the Prime Minister said this, and apparently then China did this declaration. Japan accepts everything that the Chinese have ever said and thought in our entire lives. To which the Japanese Prime Minister office responded to the Chinese government saying, often happens, translation issues. But apparently, he literally said, "Wakarimashita." Wakatta is literally literally when a man's getting shouted at by his wife, he's like, "Wakatta, wakatta," which actually in that situation probably is like the accepting all demands situation. So maybe that's not the right context, but literally, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I like to think that China's got like 1.5 billion people, a lot of whom are clearly very smart. So some of them must work in, they must be, and they have all these competitive civil service exams. They must have really smart people working for the Chinese government. But I don't see the signs of it. I see the signs of very smart people being in China. I've got my keyboard, I've got my 360 camera, I've been playing with DeepSeek at work. China's got smart people, but I don't see any evidence that they're in the government there. Although if I ever travel there, I'll definitely say I understand everything that they've ever said for the purposes of that. But there you go. What else have we got here? So 2 polls. The first poll, the cabinet support for the current Japanese Prime Minister's cabinet has dived to 27%, the lowest since he took office. That sounds unpopular, right? 27% support. But it's not the lowest support ever for a Prime Minister. Taro Aso, from Fukuoka, from Kyushu, who speaks with a Fukuoka accent, which is probably why he was so unpopular. I think got to single digits. And Yoshiro Mori also got down to single digits. But 27% isn't a good sign of anything. I mean, literally, his own mother is starting to be undecided, I think is the situation. And nobody likes him inside his own party. He kind of made his brand on bashing everybody else in the party. How he became prime minister, I think it's just everybody else was just divided on who to vote for. And he's had another kerfuffle this week because he gave out book vouchers to junior LDP members. Apparently a tradition, prime ministers would give out book vouchers. Okay, go buy a book and don't buy one of those hentai books or anything like that. Just get a good book and educate yourselves and go and do it. The book voucher that they were handing out, however, not the traditional $10 book voucher that I got from my grandma. It was a $1,000 book voucher. But go read, bro. But apparently it coming out, the junior, because of the factions inside the LDP, some of them hate him so much they outed him and said he's trying to bribe, he's handing out like cash gifts to junior politicians in the form of book vouchers. And he's saying, yeah, everybody does it. Which is of course the best excuse, the best defense of bribery ever. So his population is plummeting. But of course, two points of comparison. This is a terrible rate, like 27% support. But remember, the main opposition party in Japan only has 5% support. So how bad are they? That's the first thing. And second thing, the Osaka Expo, which is going to start soon, 1 month away from opening. Apparently, only 24.6% of Japanese people support the Osaka Expo. And how can you really oppose an expo? Like the Olympics, there was like the pandemic, there was all the money being diverted away from the Fukushima reconstruction. There were all these reasons to kind of be ambivalent about the Olympics. Who gives a crap about the Osaka Expo? Like you know, I mean, Osaka's spending. I guess people in Osaka don't like it because they're spending money on it. And now the government's bailing them out because they're overspending and they're not going to get it done. It does look a bit like a train wreck, but you know, it's like these things, a bit of Ganbaru spirit and over time, and they're probably gonna pull it off. But seriously, like, you know, what are they doing that it hasn't even started yet? It's already less popular than the Prime Minister, who's also historically unpopular at the moment. So they're doing something wrong in Osaka. But yeah, more cherry blossoms. We had snow, some more areas in Japan, including Shimane, Kyoto, Hokkaido. A whole bunch of places are increasing the lodging tax, which is kind of aimed at both encouraging people to go to not like over concentrate in areas that are having trouble coping with the volume of tourists, as well as using the fees from the lodging fees from hotels to spend on better managing over tourism, which again, I don't know exactly how they're spending that money, but if they're going to use it to promote, you know, infrastructure and, you know, better distribution of tourists, that's a good thing. The areas, Tokyo, 11 governments, including Osaka, Kyoto, Shizuoka, Atami is going to set it up in April. Akaigawa in Hokkaido will follow suit in November. Chiba, Okinawa also making preparations. So yeah, they're just going to be gouging on, and hotels are already becoming more expensive, but I don't know, provided they're using it in a way that makes sense, that's okay. US ambassador saying, yeah, we're probably going to hit you up for more money. Japan just basically offers to pay before, like you know, America even asks for money, and Japan pays a ton for the forces in Japan, but they've already got the signal, yeah, you're going to have to pay more. So I don't know. My view of American foreign policy right now, to which I know some of you will disagree, is that America has surrendered to Russia. They've surrendered to China when it comes to closing the voice of America. They're surrendered to Russia completely. I mean, literally, you know, they're surrendering to everybody. They're, you know, you're kind of giving up sort of left and right on these sorts of things. And this, again, I don't know, the military is just there as a way for, you know, raising money. I always thought that was, those troops are there for American interests as well. I don't think they're doing themselves a great favor of this. We're up on time, but something that people here may care about. Apparently, the creator of a lot of Nintendo games, Masahiro Sakai, when people saying, does Japan have to do more to localize, to Americanize its games for release in overseas? You know, he's just got an award, and he sort of made the point that he doesn't think that Japanese have to do so much to Americanize their video games. Like, you know, I think this is true. I think a lot of people in America, you know, games from Japan are successful because they're original, because they're culturally Japanese, and people enjoy that aspect of it. That's where anime became popular. It's where all these aspects of Japanese culture that's become popular and cool. It's because they didn't try to become Americanized, you know. And the best example of this that just drove me crazy was I grew up watching Astro Boy, not even knowing that it was Japanese, but it was cool. I watched it in Singapore. Of course, it was dubbed into English. But when they tried to do a CG like modern version of it, and apparently the American producers decided, they did some focus groups and decided that Astro Boy should not be a 4-year-old robot boy anymore. He should be a teenager, because our focus groups find in America believe that teenagers are cooler, and our audiences will respond and relate to that better. And he's got to have a girlfriend, and he's got to do all these things. I mean, they did everything but make him 300 pounds. And, you know, at the end of it, nobody wanted to watch the movie in Japan or America. And the Japanese like rights holders were embarrassed that they kind of sold out all their principles and failed after that as well. Yeah, just stick to the original formulas. The Nintendo games are great examples that Japanese culture actually is pretty cool, and you don't have to like apologize for it and over localize. Speaking of Americanization, obesity. In Japan, apparently, again, you ask why there's all sorts of reasons why there are lower rates of obesity in Japan. The definition of apparently the Japanese Society for the Study of Obesity defines obesity as having a body mass index of 25 or higher, which I was until the pandemic. So I was obese. And you know what? I would, every time I do the Kenko Shinran, and I considered it abusive, I'd get put on dietary guidance, even though I was like less fat than almost everybody back in Australia and New Zealand, which still have incredible obesity problems. But most people in Japan see it as a personal responsibility. It's just a matter of managing yourself. And Japan is harsh on that. And in New Zealand, the mentality is, no, you can't tell fat people that they have to manage themselves better because they'll get psychological issues from it. And, and when I say, well, Japan, people just say, don't eat so much food. And they'll say, well, I bet Japan has crazy rates of anorexia and, mental health issues relating to weight. And you know what? It probably does. But and I remember smoking used to sort of be treated the same way. But I think actually, I don't know. I've lived here for 20. I've lived here most of my life. I've lived here 26 years. Yeah, I lost weight and it sucked. I'm now no longer obese by this definition. It was hard work. It took me 2 years. And it was mostly miserable, but I'm healthier and I feel better for doing it. And the lack of sympathy in Japan has a lower rate of obesity just from basically just being mean to fat people. I don't know, America should try it. New Zealand should as well. Kurdish people, a thing pointing out that actually we're in Warabi and Saitama, the towns which have huge Kurdish communities. There's a long history of Kurdish communities doing great over there and not having any sort of problems, but basically the internet and Twitter allowing like hate groups to sort of highlight to create a kind of an atmosphere that there's all these problems in this community has kind of created this weird thing where now you get these out of town like Japanese ultra nationalists coming and picking fights with Kurds and bullying them online and stuff like that. And there's a thing which is kind of built up over the last, and it's been traced. This special by Kyodo News talks about how it's built up since 2023. It's gone from being like no issues at all to suddenly, all these sort of stories come up, all this online chatter from groups of people not even from Saitama or from this town, talking about all the problems that the Kurds are causing in this town, which they're not. And the local government there like defends the Kurds, and then all the nationalists say, oh, see, this is the world government trying to, force foreigners on us and all this sort of stuff. And, it's unhinged, but this is the thing. It wouldn't have been a problem in a society where those 100 people distributed through Japan would never even get a chance to meet or talk to each other. But when you have 100 crazy people in a country and they could all get together on an online chat board, they can generate a lot of propaganda just from that. And it's kind of what's happening there, and it's kind of sad. And it ends up getting into the news cycle, and then regular people start thinking that there's problems up there, which the government's always saying that what's going on. Can I show the flags? Sadiq, there are flags there. In fact, there are multiple flags there at that looks like a kebab place. I'm not sure all these flags will be legal in Turkey, but there again, it's not Turkey, and they are here as refugees. They're here registered as on refugee visas, probably in connection with the. In fact, I see there's also a map there in the background as well. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure the president of Turkey would probably not endorse all the flags being flown there. But that said, they've been good members of the community by all accounts. PKK flags. There is a terrorist org. Yeah, well, interesting news this week, by the way. I know nothing about Turkey, but it was interesting to hear that the PKK, I think Öcalan offered a ceasefire, right? The group, which would be remarkable, and it'd be a great achievement of the government and the Kurds if they can agree to that. Although at the same time, there's a lot happening in Turkey right now, obviously. But yeah, it sounds like the PKK has agreed to do some sort of a deal with the government, right? So some good news, perhaps on that front. But I don't know enough about it. This is a depressive. Lots of people get depression this time of year. New work year, end of the fiscal year before. Lots of pressure. New school year, new work year, all of that. With AI robots, we need to reduce the population or too many unemployed. Well, it sounds like the solution area is just to hand out more smartphones. In fact, honestly, I'm actually thinking that AI may just enhance personal, like addictive entertainment so much that honestly, I think the birth rates might just take care of themselves. We'll see. I am an optimist that we are going into a world, an abundant energy and resource abundant society, and this will be the path to it. But who knows where that will lead? But certainly, I think that's a fair statement. I'm going to wrap up. That is the top. Oh, there's the show. That is the last one. Oh, and they're closing down the Moonies, probably for the best. If you're at the Osaka Expo, You can get a burger with 4 takoyaki tacos in it, which is a great way to like burn your gums 4 times with a single burger. Heathrow, there was a fire that stopped at an electric substation that shut down Heathrow Airport. Apparently, authorities in UK are not rushing to any conclusions about who caused it. Everybody always, is going to rush about and try to rush in and say that someone did it. But for all they know, apparently, and all these, whenever someone says that, there's always a response say, oh, electrical substations just spontaneously catch fire all the time. I'm sure it's nothing, comrade. So yeah, sus as hell, but all of that stuff. I'm going to go and set up the after party. We're 10 minutes over. When do we get replicators from Star Trek? As soon as Elon Musk gets some more GPUs. Apparently that's what the bros are saying. Does the expo finish in October? I'm not sure when it finishes actually, but I hope it does. We got the after party coming up. We've got 40 people watching. That is incredible. Do remember to leave a like. Remember, I don't monetize these videos. I do it literally just for the validation and approval I get from the likes. So like me. And I'll see you on the after party soon where you guys get to pick the tracks. And thanks for keeping me company. I'll see you next week. If you're in Japan, have a great Hanami, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe. Have a great week, everybody. And boom. Peace.